In this lesson, we'll set up a new CAM program with a generative design part. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to create a new CAM setup, create a multi-axis flow toolpath for 3 axes, and modify toolpath parameters. In Fusion 360, we want to get started with the generative forming tool.f3d design. We're going to navigate to the manufacturer workspace, make sure that our inches are set, and then create a new setup. We need to flip the orientation of Z and we need to modify the stock. We're going to set the stock based on a solid body, and in this case we're going to have it exactly what the generative part is. Because really what we're looking to do is explore some operations and not actually remove material. Then for our model orientation, we want to flip the Z-axis from what it currently is. The location of the Z is not critical for this example, I just want to make sure that it's pointing in this direction. We're going to say OK, and this allows us to get started on creating a 3-axis flow. We're going to go to 3D, select Flow, and begin by looking for an 1/8" ball and mill. We need to go into our Samples Tools, Filter by Milling, and then Ball and Mill. We're going to be using an 1/8" ball and mill for aluminum finishing. We'll select this, and we'll likely need to make some adjustments to how far it's hanging out of the holder. But for right now, it's going to be okay for our example. Under the geometry, we need to select a face that we want to machine. And in this case, I want to select this face that wraps around this edge. The UV direction isn't going to matter in this case, but I do want to go to my passes and increase them to 10. We're going to say OK and allow it to generate the operation. I want to turn on the cutting move so we can see exactly what's happening. You'll note here that the tool is not able to go past that ridge, and in this case it can't go past the ridge specifically because it's occluded and we're only working in 3 axes. We want to modify our visual parameters by going to our display settings, take a look at our effects, and turn off ambient occlusion and anti-aliasing. This will give us a little better view of the operation. You can see that we still have some shadowing, but we can see exactly where the operation is. Let's make one adjustment to flow by going back into our passes and increase this to 25. Notice also that we have some other options, such as this fragment extension distance. I'm going to increase this to 0.05, and this will allow us to go past the edges of those surfaces. We'll say OK and allow it to create the operation. One other thing that we can do is we can turn off the stock visibility to give us a good idea as to where the tool actually is in relationship to that face that we selected. I'm going to go back to my display settings, go back to my effects, and turn back on object shadow, ambient occlusion, and anti-aliasing. Now that we've created this first operation, I'm going to go back to a home view and save the design before moving on to the next step.